welcome back to Sentient Sock Puppets, where today I will be reviewing HomeTown's story. It came out on October 22nd, 2013, and I picked it up relatively close to launch, and I was immediately disappointed, which shocked me because Yasuhiro Wada made it, who is actually the creator of Harvest Moon, and the soundtrack was actually produced by Nobuo Uematsu, who is responsible for some of the best soundtracks in gaming, like Kingdom Hearts, Chrono Trigger, Smash Bros. Brawl, just about every single Final Fantasy there is. This low opinion of the game is actually the general consensus, with a lot of the online reviewing sites giving it a pretty low score. With the newest Harvest Moon game coming out, Story of Seasons, I made a choice to post a lot of Harvest Moon content so that I can get really psyched about the new game. So, I recently decided to go back and give HomeTown Story a second chance. Now, I know it's not a Harvest Moon game per se, but it was made by the same person, and it even shares a lot of staples of Harvest Moon, like the Blue Feather or even the Harvest Goddess. And even though it's not a Harvest Moon, the case definitely wants you to know that it's made by the same person. The real difference between HomeTown Story and Harvest Moon is that instead of running a farm, you actually run a shop. Your grandmother's shop, to be precise. Sound familiar? So how do I feel about it after giving it a second chance? You're gonna find out now. The story of Harvest Moon games are usually pretty loose, if you can really even call it a story. You can, for the most part, decide the way it goes depending on who you decide to get close to. Generally, Harvest Moon is more about building your farm, raising animals, and doesn't really have much of an end goal. Any development with the characters take place through events that happen very infrequent and random, which I do like. It makes the characters seem authentic. But one thing that I think that HomeTown Story actually does better is that it forces you to have events with every single character. These events aren't as deep and well thought out as they are in Harvest Moon, but what I like is that there are plenty of them. Just about every single day you can go out into the town and you'll run into 2 to 3 events. And it makes the characters feel like they grow every day, as opposed to maybe once or twice a week, like in Harvest Moon games. These events are triggered by a lot of things: going into one random part of a town, selling a lot of one specific item, stocking one specific random item. It's really great motivation just to buy or find everything, just so I can sell a whole bunch and trigger another event. Certain events are even moved along by talking to random, unrelated characters to the quest. For instance, a restaurant owner comes up to me and she wants a wooden board so she can paint a new sign for her restaurant. So I immediately think, let's just wait for the 2 p.m. merchant who comes and sells you everything every single day. But he never stocks it. Instead, you have to go and talk to the lumberjack of the town who will just randomly give you one. It is great motivation to make you talk to every single person every single day. The characters in the game, while not great, they are pretty unique and develop quite nicely. I am interested in learning about every single one of them. The game gets a lot of hate for having really bland characters, but I honestly like the way that they develop. They do come off as bland in the beginning, however. If you're going to give this game a chance, just give it to the end of the first month to really decide if you like it or not. And while I'm on the topic of characters, they keep introducing new ones. 15 hours into the game, they're still introducing new characters. Because I only played it for about 5 hours the first time I gave it a chance, I didn't really get to the point where the game really started to get interesting. And while the more important characters develop quite nicely and are pretty important to the game, the same can't be said for the nameless NPCs in the game, however. The AI for these nameless NPCs is just poor. For instance, if one comes into your store and says, "I want a loaf of bread," what do? You put some bread out on the table for them. And all of a sudden they get really mad at you and leave, and if you get a chance to talk to them, they say, "You don't have what I want." The AI is so bad that they don't even know that what they are looking for is directly in front of them. For story, I'm going to give HomeTown Story a 6 out of 10. It has some really nice characters, but you really have to give them a chance before you can like them. It definitely could have benefited from some better pacing. And the nameless NPCs in the game that shop at your store every single day just are stupid and will annoy you. When I think of Harvest Moon, I think of working really hard just to get a really good payoff at the end of the day. So does HomeTown Story's work reward you as much as Harvest Moon? Well, yes! So basically what you do is you can either buy a whole bunch of things or find things like fruit on the ground, delicious, to resell and make more money off of. After you buy or find the items, you have to put them on a shelf and then decide the price for them. It's actually pretty fun and difficult. It feels like there's a very structured science behind it. For instance, I buy a watermelon at 100 gold coins. I can sell it for 110 and it'll sell really quick. If I sell it for 150, it won't sell as quick, but I'll make a bigger profit. If I sell it for 170, no one's going to be buying that watermelon. It's very rewarding when you find that sweet spot for each item. One thing I really like is at the end of the day you see your ledger book, where it basically shows you your expenses for the day, how much you sold for the day, and your balance if you're positive or negative. And it feels so rewarding when you look and you have a very big profit for each day. If you think that stocking your shelves in the beginning is boring, that's because it is! Basically, you only have 5 slots to sell items in, no matter how you rearrange your tables. It isn't until the second or third time that you expand your shop that it really becomes fun. When you expand your shop, it becomes a challenge in itself. Just to run around stocking every shelf and balancing ringing out every single customer before they get angry at you. Other than that, being in your shop can be a real drag. You're open every single day from 6 a.m. to midnight. You can leave your store at any point just to go around, talk to people, find more things to sell, but it never specifically says that. It lets you figure it out. And in this case, that's not really a good thing. Every time you leave, you have to go through this moral dilemma, asking yourself, is it okay to leave the store? What will the customers think? I better go back and check. But the answer is, yes, it is okay to leave. But you won't know that by just playing the game. Every time you come back, though, you will be greeted by a long line of angry customers who can say some pretty mean things to you. However, if you want to experience the game to the fullest, you have to make yourself callous to it. It feels awful, but it is necessary. I think the game really would have benefited if you could choose select close dates, so that you could spend an entire day in your shop and then another day after that foraging and restocking. I think it would make restocking much harder and kind of like a game in itself. Another thing that I think the game could have worked on was the quests. The quests usually consist of you finding 2 to 3 items for each character and giving them to them at the right spot. They're easy, but there's never a clear way to view quests that you're on. So if you have several characters asking you to find several items for you, you have to memorize all of them. I suggest either having a notebook next to you or having something with Wikipedia up very, very close to you. The gameplay of HomeTown Story is nowhere near as rewarding as Harvest Moon, but it definitely doesn't come easy. It definitely could have used a few more mechanics to spice it up, like a tool system, or specified days to when your store is closed. I think you should get a 5 out of 10 for gameplay. It is rewarding, but it does feel lacking in some important parts, like finding items, and it really does hurt making your customers upset every time you want to leave the store. The visuals in HomeTown Story are great. This is mostly due to the lead artist being Atsuko Nishida. Excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Who is she, you ask? Oh, no one important, she hasn't done much. Only designed the most recognizable character in all of video gaming ever. It's obvious she took a lot of time designing all the characters in the game. The town looks nice, but suffers from being a little too open and not having much to look at. The houses are pretty scattered around the very flat and boring grasslands of the town. However, the more characters that you meet, the more houses pop up, and it makes the game a whole lot more interesting. I'm going to give HomeTown Story an 8 out of 10 for visuals. The art style is nice and simple, and it reflects the feeling of the game, which is living out a nice, simple life in the countryside. The soundtrack in HomeTown Story gets a bad rap just because of one bad song. The song that plays while you're actually in the store, it's awful. It's never ending, and it has this really out-of-place electronic feel to it. However, if you take one step outside of your shop, you are greeted by some fantastic music. In fact, it's so good, sometimes I just sit around listening to it. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for soundtrack. Nobuo Uematsu has outdone himself another time. In the final category, how it uses the special features of the system. If you've seen any of my other reviews, you'll know that I've said that the special features of the 3DS are the 3D effect and the touchscreen. And HomeTown Story puts both of those to use the way that more games should. The 3D is subtle, not hurting your eyes with flashy effects, but instead being very low and showing you where your character is in relation to others. It offers the perfect amount of depth, and I honestly recommend leaving it on for the entire experience. The bottom screen is used to show the map, navigate through inventory, and set prices on items. It's very easy to control because all you have to do is switch your hand from the circle pad down to the D-pad. It is extremely seamless and easy to do. You don't have to go into some big menu just to find the item that you want. Honestly, I can't think of a single thing that HomeTown Story did wrong in this category. I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. HomeTown Story definitely had a lot of flaws, like poor AI, uninteresting landscapes, and a very, very slow start. It was still a good game though. Yasuhiro Wada definitely knows what he's doing. I enjoyed the rewarding gameplay, the frequent small events, and the absolutely fantastic soundtrack. While the game failed in a lot of aspects, it definitely did a lot right now. Definitely more than what it did wrong. I would love to see this become a series and have several sequels. Overall, it's going to get a 7 out of 10. If you haven't tried this game, you should. Just give it a little bit to grow on you. If you have tried it and didn't like it, please go back and give it another chance. Thanks again for watching. I know this game gets a lot of hate. And if you think I'm wrong, leave me a comment. I would love to have a chat with you. If you think I'm right, please do the same. Not sure what my next review is going to be, but I would definitely like to do more Harvest Moon content. Can anybody say Harvest Moon March? Come on! If you want to check out any of my other reviews, my last one actually being of Harvest Moon: The Lost Valley, go to the Sentient YouTube channel and check them out. Or, if you're tired of video games, check out Matey's and David's reviews. You can find all of them at the Sentient YouTube channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. I need to go check out my store again!